plenty of recent news to talk about. We've got ESL's plans to return to LAN. So they've released all their dates. As you guys remember on last time's show, I was going to show you the calendar, but I couldn't because you could see that some of the dates have changed. So our next show, I will have a calendar ready to go, I promise you. And there's also the RMR proposals are open. So let's start with the RMR proposals here, Prof. What was the article? What was the news that came out from Valve with that?
I was expecting you to throw this to Striker.
Oh shit,
honestly.
Striker! I'm throwing it to Striker.
I mean, read it, but nothing. I didn't really remember anything special except what was announced before for the RMRs. Like you have to invite our top RMR teams based on points and stuff like that. So nothing special about. And there will be 2 RMRs, right? That's the plan.
Yeah,
before the major.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much all of it. Like they're looking to do at least 2 with one of them online.
All right. Before we get into the discussion about do we think that's a good idea, Russell, what did you think of the RMR events? As someone who had to compete in some of them, what did you make of that system that they brought out here to deal with the issue? Did you think it was a good system? Do you think it kind of got in the way of the events that already existed? Was it even something that you guys were prioritizing? How did that all play out from a team perspective?
I think eventually it ended up being something we prioritize. Mainly because replacing Nick obviously takes points away from us.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that shouldn't be punished, to be honest, especially in our situation where he wanted to step down. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think by convenience, we ended up being high up on the list without even realizing it, because most of the NA events were RMR events. But it wasn't something that we actively thought about.
Okay, so that's perfect because we can kind of use that because we just talked about the fact that Na'Vi didn't look at their RMR events as an important tour stop in the calendar. You said for you it was here nor there. It was like, yeah, we understand, but it's also doesn't feel like it's impending for us to be super focused on these. So, Prof, do we think that they've missed the mark here by Valve coming out and going, let's do more RMR events? Like, what do you think of this? Do you think they should have come up with a new method?
Yeah, they said additionally that they want to continue with the same like logic where tournament organizers repurpose the events that they have to become RMRs. But yeah, the problem with that is that you have to invite the teams that are the highest ranked. And let's maybe, if someone can find like the European status right now, like Godsent is top 5 there, maybe not after the player change, but you'll have to invite some teams that potentially you wouldn't want for a top tier event. If you had like an elite S+ tier event, then you'll have some teams that you don't want, and maybe you will miss out on some other teams. And especially if it's like now where you have
there's
European
no complexity,
teams.
for example, in the top. Like that's one team. I guess maybe complexity is not the best example considering their recent form.
They're 18th.
But you know, like 5 months ago, complexity were still had no points, right?
Mouse Sports are like 13th at the moment, for example. Maybe that's a bit more of a like, whereas North are 11th. So I think that this next major is probably going to be a mess from a lot of perspectives, right? Because this is something we're talking about with Blast and ESL having announced their full calendars and mainly trying to do events all in one location, right? So it's all the teams come to Europe, right? I feel that's what both these TOs are going to try and do for the whole year. So having Blast or ESL repurpose their events doesn't feel likely, which leaves the door open for TOs like Star Ladders, Summit running one right now. I guess maybe DreamHacks. Like the thing is with those events, they're not going to be run by the big boys. Now, if I'm a TO and I'm like an ESL or a Blast, I'm changing my schedule or my calendar for an RMR event, even though they're going to pay for like, I think for the LAN one, they said they were going to pay for travel, accommodation, and prize money, right?
Yep.
Even with that, I'm sitting thinking to myself, what extra does that give us? It doesn't, to me, if I'm an ESL, a Blast, or even a Flashpoint, because they have partner teams as well, this just makes things harder and more difficult. Is there a solution that anybody has, because I'm fucking out of them, of what we could do that would make more sense for the major? Because Valve want to keep it as open as possible so that Tom, Dick, and Harry down the park can make a fucking team and come in and qualify for the major. That's why. But is there any solution that we have where we could should we just have a whole different event for this? I'm losing my mind trying to think about a solution for this one. Anyone?
Not really. I feel like it's
We're
just especially because we've already played 3 so far, and just like to have them just mean nothing and for now would just not really make sense to me. And I'm not even sure if that's going to be the case or not, because they've kind of hinted at it being changed in some way, at least,
Updated,
if not reset completely. So it's just hard to say at this point what's going to happen, but I doubt it's going to get reset. I feel like maybe they'll just make the recent ones way more, like, mean way more than like the
Sure.
last year's were. But there probably has to come some changes. But yeah, it's just hard to do anything now that we've already got the ball rolling. Like, at this point, you would just punish a lot of teams that made a lot of progress in those RMR events, that, you know, they would just lose entirely if you wanted to come up with a different system. So I feel like it has to be retained in some way.
To
Oof.
clarify, I feel like the only reason the RMR events didn't hold as much weight as they should is because the major was clearly not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it, right? Like, everyone knew
Sure.
that there's no way that there would be an audience held event,
Yeah.
and Valve would never make the majors online.
Mm-hmm.
So the RMR events actually meant nothing, and that's why teams like Navi or NA teams didn't really think about it, because
Sure.
you know, if there was going to be major, they're probably going to reset the points or something. You know, there's no way that they're going to keep these points from fucking March that are
Sure.
going to count into the major from next year.
I feel like they
But,
will still have like some value, but it's
yeah.
probably going to be minor.
Hopefully
Yeah,
it's negligible
super
by that point.
minor, especially because, like, as you said, the new events give more points, and also everyone made roster changes since, so they lost a big degree of those small points that they have. So it's gonna mean something, and more so, I think it meant to, like, a team like Godsent. If you did well in the now FPX, if you did well in the first RMR, then you get invited into the second. Then again, you do like kind of okay, then you get more points, and that's what mattered, but not actually doing well in one, like movie star riders or something. No one cares about their like 50 points or 500 points or whatever.
Let's do this, right? Because we also have to bridge the conversation to ESL's plans to return to LAN. And I've been on this show multiple times now saying, can we stop kicking the fucking can down the road? So using
No
our
one
thumbs
listens.
up, no one listens. Let's just keep getting the hopes of the community up time and time again, and living by the mantra that things are going to be fine and that everything's going to be cool. Whereas the exact opposite keeps happening every single fucking week. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox for a second. Out of the four of us here, we're going to yay it or nay it with those lovely buttons. Do you think the major will happen in October at this current juncture? As you see the world right now, with everything you know, do you think it'll happen in October? Is October for PGL? Hit your yay, hit your nay.
End of October and whatever.
Well, it would be
November.
it would be completely against what I just said if I went yes, it would happen, because I'm being a Debbie Downer here trying to bring the whole
just
mood
read
down.
out, because I don't have the stream.
Yeah,
I just have
okay.
the boxes.
So Twist was in real quick with a thumbs up. Then the two of you quickly followed, and then I went negative as all hell here just to bring everybody back to reality. So Twist, I don't want to ask your view on like geopolitics or the fucking COVID or vaccines or anything, but you're feeling confident that we'll get our act together, that we can at least have an event offline by that point?
I think with somewhat of an audience.
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be a clear reason why Valve picked Sweden to host the TI and
True.
the major in the same location. There has to be some like deal being made with either, you know, I don't know anything, but I'm just gonna say maybe the government, or they came to the conclusion that they can get visa for players for Sweden, you know, until October.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll definitely see an audience event. Maybe it's not thousands of people, but there's going to be a major this year, I'm pretty sure. And until then, I fully believe that there could be like studio events that are pretty well controlled, and we'll see like some LAN CS again.
Okay, no, and that's a pretty reasonable take. I think just the thing is, the reason I'm negative about it is because like I'm in the throes right now of getting ready to plan where I have to go and when I have to be there and shit, and I'm having to factor in like the potential for a 14-day quarantine in case I test positive on either side of traveling, right? So it's like I'm sitting here just trying to work out how to get on a 3-hour fucking flight, and it seems difficult as it is. And at the moment, things just keep getting worse. So I'm just negative. You're probably bang on there in that sense, right? They wouldn't be planning 2 events in the same location. That's something that should probably stay factored in there. But what we can do with this, Lucas, I'm going to send you this link. We'll continue this because it's the same point of conversation. So I'm just going to read this out just quickly. This is from your website, HLTV.org. This was from you, Prof. Now, this is to do with ESL unveiling their 2021 calendar. Now, in this calendar, they updated some of the dates, but looking at the graphic, which is blurry as fuck, let me just zoom in. Looking at the graphic halfway down the page, right? It's got here esport events without audience, right? And it has Katowice, which is now no longer meant to be on LAN. It's meant to just be an online event like what we're currently experiencing with everything else. Then what they've planned for is from the 10th of March until the 11th of April, if I'm reading this correctly, is when Pro League is meant to be. But they have ESL Pro League with the green line halfway through. So I'm assuming what this means is the group stage would be played online. And then the plan is to get the playoffs of Pro League in a studio. That's probably towards the tail end of March and early April.
Yeah, something like that. Probably early April. A week for playoffs, I think, is more than enough. I don't know what the format is.
So we're limiting the team. So wherever they think they can get them to, we're probably talking about 6 to 8 teams here for the playoffs. They think they can get 6 to 8 teams in one location in April. Now let's get those thumbs back out. Do we think the ESL can get 6 to 8 teams in one location in 3 months' time? Yay it or nay it? All right, Twist, you've gone with yay. The rest of us have gone nay. Why do you think? What's your feeling? Why do you think they can get teams in the one location?
Well, the thing is, I don't know how much the public knows or not. So it's like weird for me to say things. But
I was gonna say he knows something.
It is announced that it should be in Malta. Let's just say that.
It wasn't. It was announced.
Yeah, it's in the announcement. This one.
Oh, okay. So in that scenario, Malta is a pretty small area.
It is very small.
Yeah, where I'm pretty sure ESL has like connections, and there's been events there before, and I'm pretty sure the Maltese government loves the sound of esports and loves how it looks. So I think it's definitely possible to have 8 teams there in a controlled studio environment with no audience. And I believe that there could even be more teams. You know, maybe that line means that NA and EU separate. You know, we don't know what it means.
Sure. I'm gonna take this one little step further because basically, from my understanding, I live in Malta, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. There's an amber list to travel in. So if what they can do, what Russell's saying, if they can get a deal with the government to help get these players across, we can probably make it happen. But I think certain countries who are on this amber list, you have to quarantine somewhere else first that's not on this list before you can travel into Malta for 14 days. So the reason I see that as difficult is ESL might have to get all these players in that location first, set them up, and then fly them to the next location. So I'm a little bit because I think that with how quickly we saw like the UK just fucking get shut out earlier this year, right? It was like, oh, everything's kind of okay. People are traveling. It's winter time. We're coughing. We're spluttering a bit more. There's a couple more cases. People saw each other for Christmas. People still were doing dumb cunt things on New Year's. Yeah, whatever. We got a couple more cases, blah, 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 blah. And then this second strain bullshit happens. And then people are just like, nah, fuck the UK. It's like lockdown, 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 lockdown. It's like anything could happen in a day. And all the governments are just like, nah, fuck that place or fuck that. Like, this is the scariest thing right now is that we're walking around on eggshells. And at any moment, if some crazy thing happens, let's say the virus breeds with a raccoon or some shit. Next thing we know, we've got some new raccoon strain of COVID that's fucking going into all of our dogs or something. Like at this point, we don't know what, like, I'm just sitting here wondering how much worse it can get. And we're planning to do LANs in April. Like, I like it that we want to kind of give everybody something to be excited about. But I just sit here and I keep going, this is like the partner you all had, right? I'm referencing one of my experiences with me being a shit boyfriend, where like you say you're gonna like do this, or you say you're gonna buy him this, or you say I'm gonna take him to this place, and then the time comes around for it to happen, and you're like, hey honey, sorry, work wasn't as good for me this month, and I wasn't able to get enough money, so we can't go on holidays to Bali, but next month I'm gonna get you a new GHD hair straightener, right? Like this is what this feels like to GHD hair straightener. They're the fucking best, man. What do you mean you don't know what a GHD? I think it's GHD. Anyway, guys, buy your girlfriends a hair straightener. But it'll be with them for years. But my point here is, it's like I don't like that we're honey dicking people. It's like if it's gonna happen, right? Like let's say we would like to run it on LAN, but currently we're doing our absolute best to make it happen on LAN, but currently we'll just let you all know it's probably going to be online. Instead of going, we're back on LAN, and then once we get close, it's like, hey guys, it's like the dog ate my homework excuse, but it's COVID. How many times can we run that? Like, we all know COVID's happening. How many times can we just say, oh yeah, but COVID? Like, can we start? Let's do this. instead of everybody in this whole industry planning for when we get back to LAN and how things can be better when we're back on LAN, which we all want to be there. How about we go, what's the situation we're in right now? What is the most likely outcome? Let's take off of our fucking rose tinted glasses and stop looking at the world like things are just going to miraculously get better. Like a lot of us did, going, oh, we're going from 2020 to 2021. The world's going to go back to normal. And let's go, okay, well, let's make this better. Let's make this better. Let's get these, let's look at how we can make now better. Because if we make online broadcasts stronger and better, like what Blast are doing, and we can actually run a coherent broadcast in that kind of controlled environment and offer up new content and offer up the player cams and this and that and everything good that we're doing, and we can actually refine that shit before we're going, yeah, LAN, then we're actually going to have a better product when we get back to LAN. So let's make what we have now better, and let's worry about the shit in the future. Get a team, get 6 dudes, put them in a room, they can plan for the future. Let everybody else just worry about now. Let's make now better. Can we make now better?
I agree with that. But obviously, like, there must have been plans to have Katowice also played in like a controlled environment too.
Yeah.
But it just didn't happen. So it does mean that ESL is aiming for like a more realistic time frame, and they must have communicated with the partner teams to ensure that everyone feels safe with the plan.
I'm gonna have to be meaner on them next time, because I've kind of let him off the hook, Russell. I've let him off the hook a couple of times here. Next time, I'm gonna have to.
By the way, HenryG, that's a bingo check right there.
Is it?
We didn't release the bingo list though.
We should,
but yeah,
because it's pretty good.
All right.
So that was a term that was
that's like
used a lot
odd saying,
in my team.
saying from SPUNJ.
Yeah, it's a common
he always
term.
like every other show he says something that I haven't heard before, but I understand, like the concept of, but I just haven't heard before. And HenryG is one of those things.
Jason used that term a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
We know where you get it from.
He was. Yeah, maybe he heard it from that one.
We still have a chat. We still check in with Jason every now and again. Okay, have I missed anything here, Prof, on this ESL plan stuff?
We did too low. This is too much already.
You're right.
Like,
you're right.
yeah, I think the plan is maybe Cologne LAN. That's the only thing that it said. But not even maybe. Like, they will consider if it's a possibility. I think that's HenryG.
Yeah.
If I understood that term correctly. So
yeah, I think you got it. I think you've nailed it there. Let's